Hello everyone, Nadim here with PC.Solutions.Net. Today we're going to talk about endpoint security. If you like the video, go ahead and subscribe to the channel, hit the like button, hit the bell icon, you'll get notified when we release a video. So let's get started. Endpoint security. A lot of times people ask me this, it's like, hey, we've got a very good firewall, we've got this, we've got that. Do we really need endpoint security? Security is a layered approach. Think of security like an onion. The bad guys can peel off a few layers and you still have plenty left. And that's where you want to be, is when bad guys can peel a few layers off, they're still not getting to what they need, and they're going to go to some easier targets, hopefully your competitors, right? Endpoint security is what protects each device. And it's even more important now when a lot of people are working from remote sites, from their homes. They're traveling a lot. I know a lot of people are starting to travel, but they're not required to be in the office like they used to before the pandemic hit. So it's very important to protect not just computers, but your handhelds, your tablets. Just a few years ago, each person had like maybe one or two compute devices, and now it's like 3 to 5. So the number of devices each person has like grown exponentially, and we need to protect each one of these devices, not just at the perimeter, because these devices might be at the person's house or some other location. There are issues like malware that can infect these machines, ransomware, phishing attempts. Even if it's, one of the other questions I get is, I have an iPad and it's impervious. Nothing is impervious. Yeah, on a solid state device like iPad or Android tablets, you can restart the device and get it to its clean state. You will need to know to restart the device to get it to a clean state. So it's imperative that we protect these devices if these devices are going to be accessing company data. There's been a lot of recent attacks, huge attacks, like, the pipeline attack or the attack on an MSP in Texas, where the bad guys got access from endpoints. That's where the breach happened. And then the bad guys moved horizontally and got access to servers. In the SMB space, these types of breaches, a lot of times they end up putting companies out of business. It's very hard to recover, not just the hit on revenue, but that's a direct hit. But the other side is people lose trust. And what do you do to get that trust back? It's not easy to get trust back. There are a few best practices that you can follow regarding endpoint security. Of course, you need to have a good endpoint security system deployed organization-wide, including machines that may never come into the company network, right? There might be devices that people only use from their house, but we need to protect all of these. We need to make sure that these devices are updated on a routine basis, that the latest patches are deployed as soon as they come out. And one of the things that IT admins should always be on the forefront of is knowing when certain patches are released. And you can sign up for example, CISA.gov. They have information on the latest breaches and vulnerabilities and things like that. So you can subscribe to that. That way you'll get notified when a certain patch is released by a vendor. The other thing you want to do is implement strong authentication methods, not just strong passwords. Actually, the going thing nowadays is to have an easy password, but have strong second factor authentication. Keep in mind, getting a PIN code via SMS is not considered secure anymore. And then on top of that, you need to make sure that you're educating your users. Your users need to be aware of what some of these things are, what some of the current attack vectors are, so that people can protect themselves. Some of the endpoint security solutions include the traditional antivirus, anti-malware solutions. There's firewalls. Now, there's a good antivirus solution built into Windows, which most corporate devices are probably going to be running Windows. The Windows Defender or the Microsoft Defender, it's a pretty good system for protection against viruses and malware. So you can keep using that. If you don't have anything, keep using that. And also the built-in Windows firewall is pretty good as well. So Windows has come a long way when it comes to security. The problem is some of the users sometimes will disable these things, and usually we see this in power users where maybe it's a developer and he's running into an issue, so he's going to disable it temporarily to test something, and then they forget to enable it, right? So you need to have some sort of central management for these devices, this software that's deployed on all the devices. EDR solutions are really good, and if you have an endpoint detection and response solution, it's good because the response in automated solutions is almost instantaneous, and a lot of these systems are based on AI, so they will analyze behavior. As soon as they notice something that is not normal behavior for a certain machine or a user, they will take action. So that really helps. You need to have a good endpoint security policy, and if you need a template security policy, reply in a comment or reach out to us directly. We can give you a template that you can customize and make your own. It has to be written down. People that are in the specific roles need to know and understand what this policy is, where this policy is, and understand what all the items are in the policy that they need to follow if a breach happens, that they need to follow before a breach happens. There's all these different stages of things that you need to put in place. You want to make sure that your users are adhering to compliance standards, whether you're on the other side of the pond and GDPR is more important, or whether you are in the healthcare field and you need to follow some of the HIPAA standards. Whatever your standards are for your industry, you need to make sure that you follow them. And endpoint security needs to follow these standards. So security is not one point solution, it's a comprehensive network. And that's where that layered approach comes into play. There are also some technical considerations when it comes to endpoint security. For example, you may implement machine learning or AI, where you're doing some behavioral analytics and automatically taking action or remediating certain things based on these analytics. You want to make sure that all your endpoints are encrypted. Now, the problem is corporate data might be accessible from home devices. Your users might be logging in from home. Can those devices hold company data? Can a user copy data to that local device? If so, you want to make sure that local device is encrypted as well, because your encryption is not going to do anything if people can access from their home devices and their home devices have no policy on them at all. So you want to make sure that you have encryption in place on all these devices that touch your data. You need to have a good standard around secure configurations. Your secure configurations guidelines should be followed by every device that has the ability to touch your data. And then you also need to pay attention to implementation strategies, right? You need to understand what your current security posture is, how it changes over time. So that way you can select the right fit endpoint security solution for your company, for your business. You need to have steps written down for successful implementation. When it comes to security software, you don't want to not document things to where it depends on who was working on a certain day and there is a variance in implementation because of whoever the person was driving at that day. The person who is driving that day needs to not be as relevant as the policy that the company has. So you can hire somebody else, plug them in, and as long as people are following your policy, then the end result should be the same and not very subjective based on the person behind the wheel. With that, you want to make sure that you are managing and monitoring the solutions that people are putting into place. So you have a policy around what your solution looks like, but then you want to monitor, make sure that everything is adhered to. So continuous monitoring and security of incidents is important. You wanna plan for potential breaches. So always assume breach. It doesn't matter how much technology you have in place, assume breach and design your systems with the assume breach mentality. With that, you want to make sure that you are doing regular security audits and assessments. For most of our customers, we do it once a year. Some of them are once a quarter, depending on what industry they're in. You may have to do them once a month. But these audits and assessments can be automated to where it's not a lot of noise. You want to minimize noise. So the idea is not to just create more noise, but the idea is to find those individual things that may have fallen out of scope and bring them back into scope. And then, of course, your endpoint security system should integrate with other security measures, the broader security of your network. And that's where the layered approach comes into play. You want to have multiple layers that work together. So even if somebody peels a few layers, there's still plenty of layers left, and the bad guys go over to an easier target. You want to integrate your endpoint security with your network security. So, for example, don't have like a one-off solution in place, like your firewall is completely different and your endpoint security is completely different, and they don't understand each other. Have something that understands each other and that work together to secure the entire organization. So in future, what we are noticing is that there are more and more products coming into the endpoint security field, where they are using AI for predictions of threats. So not only are they using AI to detect an anomaly, but also to predict an anomaly. And I think as time goes on, as AI gets better and better at predictions, as we understand more of the variables that impact future predictions, this whole field is just ripe for AI. We can use AI. I think for the next foreseeable future, we're going to see more and more of AI involvement in endpoint security. The idea is where AI should get to a point where people don't have to worry about security anymore. AI handles that for us, right? And there's going to be once in a while there might be some issues where somebody might not be able to access something because they did something very different that's not normal for them, and that can happen. But the overall idea is to make security transparent to the actual user. So these are some of the things that you want to put into place. Remember that endpoint security is critical. It should not be an oversight. It should not be something that you just plug in after the fact, or one day you decide, okay, we need endpoint security, let's just buy a product, plug it in. You need to have a strategy around this. Stay informed on threats, and like I said earlier, you can subscribe to CISA.gov. Whenever a threat comes out, you'll get notified. Best practices are fundamental when it comes to endpoint security. So make sure you have regular updates in place, strong authentication, user education. That really forms the backbone of endpoint security. And then choose the right solutions, right? Deploy an appropriate mix of antivirus, firewalls, and EDR solutions. These should work together. It's almost like 2 + 2 = 5, as opposed to 2 + 2 = 4. These different products enhance each other. Policy and compliance do matter, so establish a robust endpoint security policy and ensure compliance. Make sure that these standards are not negotiable elements, that everybody's on board with that, and keep people trained on this. Why is it important? Leverage technology. Utilizing advanced technologies like AI and encryption can really expand your security posture, enhance your security posture. And some of these systems that are out now using AI and encryption, that they really make security very robust for any enterprise. Be thoughtful about implementing security solutions, a solution that works with what you already have, technologies that supplement each other and don't fight each other. It should be what you put into place. A thoughtful approach to selection and implementation is always going to produce the best results. Keep in mind, monitoring is ongoing. It's a continuous process. You can't just monitor one day and then over time start to drift in a different direction where you're not monitoring as much. So monitoring, make sure you don't forget about it, that it's a constant, continuous process. It's not like one time and it's done. It's constant. And that's why we like to automate monitoring. So that way you don't have to, it's not a heavy push that way, right? Once you implement it, the only time that you get involved is when you need to remediate something or some red flag gets raised by the monitoring system. Integrate your different products into a layered approach for better security, integration that works together with other systems that you've already deployed. And keep in mind, prepare for the future. If you are subscribed to CISO.gov or some other third-party system that will kind of give you some insight into the trends and emerging technologies and threats, that will only help you adapt to what's going on in the security landscape. So at the end of the day, I encourage everybody to have the security policies in place to implement some of these things. If you need that template, reach out to us, reply, put a comment in here. We can send you like a template you can customize and make your own. Until next time, everybody, have a great day and be safe.